How's it going, everyone? It's Avi from Weather Storm 1000. Today is January 5th, 2022. As today, we're going to focus on our next major Northeast snowstorm that could bring up to 6 inches of snow in many areas of the Northeast and could impact a lot of big cities in the Northeast as well as other cities further westward. But before I begin, make sure to subscribe if you want to see more weather-related content. Make sure to like if you like this video, and make sure to turn on post notifications if you want to see even more weather-related content. So let's begin by taking a look at the current radar, and of course we do see some snow showers right around the northern Great Lakes associated with this Clipper system that brought a decent amount of snow throughout the northern Midwest, right around the 3 to 6 inch range, especially closer to the Great Lakes. But now it's moving eastward, so won't be much of a worry. The next feature we're taking a look at is this area of snow showers that's located in Kansas right now, right around the Denver area. So Denver, you are receiving a little bit of snow, so watch out because the road should be slick right around this area of the Midwest, and it's going to continue to move eastward and encounter just enough of an unstable environment to see convection associated with this trough, and will result in a pretty significant snowstorm for a lot of the Northeast. So this is definitely a feature we're going to need to pay close attention to over the next couple hours. And we do, of course, see some snow right around the higher elevations of the Pacific Northwest. So watch out if you're in the areas where it's more elevated in the Pacific Northwest, because you're bound to see some slick and potentially dangerous snow conditions associated with some of these heavier snow bands. But let's first take a look at this feature right here by taking a look at the GFS model. So at this point, I'd say it seems likely in the Northeast you will experience a major snowstorm out of this. The certainty is very high at this point, and even when it comes to snowfall accumulation, the certainty seems very high, with both of the main reliable computer models agreeing within around the ballpark range, that it relatively agreeing that we're going to see around the same amount of snow in the same areas of the Northeast, with some slight differences, but it won't make a big difference in terms of the overall certainty for when it comes to this snowfall forecast. So if we were to continue to move forward, you see that we're going to see a lot of troughs come off the Pacific Northwest, and that will allow for more potential of snowstorms in the coming future for a lot of the eastern half of the United States and the United States in general. So we need to pay close attention to that, and this is one of those opportunities where we're going to see this trough sort of fizzle out right around the Midwest. However, thanks to how strong this northwesterly flow is associated with this low pressure system, it's going to bring a lot of Arctic air further southward, closer to the Gulf Coast states, and it's going to encounter the very warm and humid air mass located just north of the Gulf of Mexico, and that will create an unstable environment where the denser Arctic air will attempt to filter into that warmer, lightly dense air that's just north of the Gulf of Mexico, and that creates a lot of lift in the atmosphere in this area for the air molecules to become very buoyant, which would allow for low pressure to develop right around the southeast, and that will become our next major snowstorm. You see that if we were to continue to move forward, you see that we quickly begin to see area of snow showers develop right around the Mississippi River Valley, and some of these snow showers will be heavy at times in Tennessee. While this low pressure system will be a quick mover, which will be one of the things that will certainly limit the snowfall throughout the Northeast and the Southeast as it heads further northeastward. It's gonna snow at a very heavy clip at a very quick pace, especially in the Southeast. So while this will be a quick mover, it's gonna dump a lot of its snow in a very short time period, which is a huge concern because that will create dangerous road conditions when we see snowfall rates that rapid. Even though it won't be a long duration event, that still will create just very dangerous road conditions potentially, especially in the Southeast where you're expected to receive the most snowfall, and you guys aren't typically used to seeing this much snowfall during any time during the winter, since of course snowstorms are less likely than areas further northward. But if we were to continue to move forward, you see this low pressure system develops, and we begin to see the snow eventually approach West Virginia, and then we eventually see it approach the Northeast, where Pennsylvania is getting involved, Maryland's getting involved, Delmar Peninsula is getting involved with heavier snowfall, and the heaviest snowfall along the Northeast coast should be in the extreme eastern portions of the Northeast. So in the coastal areas of the Northeast, that's where you are most likely to receive the most snowfall. While further westward, it does become questionable about how much snow will you receive, because of course we need to monitor the snow bands and how far west they go, and of course the trajectory of the snow pressure system will make a big difference in terms of how much snowfall accumulation you receive. However, it seems like the computer models are pretty certain that about the snow totals throughout the Northeast. So, based on the current forecast from the GFS and the European model, I'd most likely believe it and just prepare for what your forecast, because it seems pretty certain you're going to receive around the general area of 3 to 6 along coast and 1 to 3 just outside of it. It seems like the snowfall subsided just a little bit in the Northeast, because before both the computer models wanted to take 3 to 6 inches further westward, but now it's further eastward and there's less of an area where you could receive over 6 inches of snow in the Northeast. However, there are some isolated areas, especially closer to, I'd say, just south of the Ohio River Valley, where you could experience potentially over 6 inches of snow. You might be wondering, well, how much snow should you expect? So if we were to take a look at the GFS model's forecast when it comes to the snowfall, you're going to see that the heaviest snowfall should be just south of the Ohio River Valley, pretty much, where Tennessee is actually receiving the most snowfall, and Kentucky, West Virginia, Virginia is receiving the most snowfall. While for the Northeast, the heaviest snow, like I said, should be in the extreme eastern portions, such as the Delmarva Peninsula, the southeastern part of New Jersey, and of course the southeastern part of New England will receive the most snowfall out of this, and this includes Maine as well. And you might be wondering, how about the big cities? Well, for Washington, D.C., it seems like the GFS model is leaning towards right around 2 to 4 inches of snow, which again, it's going to fall at a rapid pace, so you definitely want to prepare for that in case Thursday night, because it seems like the snow will be heavy and it's going to be a little bit difficult for the snow plows to keep up with that that heavy pace of snow. And you see that in Philadelphia, you're receiving the general forecast from GFS model for Philadelphia is right around 1 to 3 inches, and same goes for New York City. So it might not sound significant, but again, the snow is going to fall at a very rapid clip, so you want to keep that in mind. But the good news is that a lot of the snow will happen late Thursday night, so when a lot of people aren't typically traveling, so this won't happen in, let's say, in the middle of the day or during rush hour, where it could cause the most travel problems. It seems like it's going to happen overnight, which is certainly good news for people who typically travel during the day. And you see that right around Boston, you're receiving right around 3 to 6 inches of snow, so it's a little bit more significant for you guys, and I'd consider it major at that point, especially further southeastward you go, where you could receive over 6 inches right around Cape Cod and the Nantucket area of Massachusetts. So this is definitely something you guys need to prepare for now in the Northeast. Get the salt ready, get the shovels ready, because it seems like you're going to receive a decent amount of snowfall, and for many of you, probably your first accumulating snowfall or first snowstorm of the year. And if we were to compare it to the European model is basically mimicking the GFS model, but the European model wants to bring the heavier snow slightly further westward, but isn't much of a difference. New York City is still experiencing maybe around 2 to 4 inches of snow in the European model's case. Boston is receiving right around 3 to 6 inches, and this extends to Washington, D.C., as well as Philadelphia as well, where you're receiving right around 2 to 4 inches of snow. So you want to keep that in mind throughout the Interstate 95 corridor, that a big snowstorm is headed your way. And in Tennessee, this is where the maximum snowfall should fall, right around Kentucky, West Virginia, and of course the Nashville area. You could receive up 3 to 6 inches of snow, and potentially more than that in isolated areas. So make sure to prepare in the southeast, because it seems like a major snowstorm is going to impact you guys right around those areas. So make sure to be aware of that throughout the Northeast over the next 24 hours. Now, in terms of what else we're taking a look at, you of course see that in the Pacific Northwest, we're seeing a lot of snowfall, and we're even going to see right around 3 to 6 inches of snowfall throughout Denver, Colorado, the 6 ends of Wyoming as well, and the higher elevations of Idaho and Montana, as well as the higher elevations of the Cascade Mountains, should receive snowfall right around the 30 to 40 inch range, which is quite heavy for you guys, and you certainly want to keep that in mind throughout the next couple of days. We're going to see a continuous stream of troughs move through the Pacific Northwest that will, of course, bring feet of snowfall, not inches, but feet of snowfall along the West Coast. So make sure to prepare in the higher elevations of the West Coast as well, as that's something we're going to need to keep a close eye on over the next week. Let's take a look at other things that might have some potential. We do have a trough developing right around the 102-hour mark, but it shouldn't be much of a worry, as it should, for the most part, be actually pretty quiet beyond this snowstorm moving through the Pacific, through the Northeast. So it could be a little bit of a quiet week when it comes to winter weather. However, temperatures will be cold over the next week, as temperatures should be below average for the most part throughout the northern United States. As we're going to see, as while the conditions will mostly be quiet when it comes to precipitation, we're going to see a multitude of jet stream dips within the next 5 days. So it's definitely something we need to, you guys need to at least be aware of throughout the United States. That it's going to be colder than average for the most part, and the GFS model pretty much agrees with that, with the European model for the most part, as it doesn't seem to be bringing any sort of major winter weather throughout the United States outside of this, of course, Northeast Snowstorm that's about to pass by, and the troughs are moving through the Pacific Northwest, which should eventually move eastward of the Pacific Northwest and north of the United States border by right around the 3-day mark. So it should be a pretty quiet week, but make sure to be aware of those cold temperatures ahead for a lot of the northern United States, especially the eastern half of the United States. But let's now take a look at the Futurecast radar to see when you guys should expect the snowfall throughout the Northeast and the Ohio River Valley. So if I were to continue to move forward, it is 7 p.m. on Wednesday. You see that we're still seeing snow right around Denver, Colorado, as well as Wyoming. And if we were to continue to move forward, you see that by right around 1 a.m., we're going to begin to see the snow approach Kansas and Missouri, approaching the Mississippi River Valley. And then it's not until, I'd say, around 7 a.m. where we begin to see this low pressure system finally develop. 7 a.m. tomorrow, where we see just enough lift in the atmosphere for this low pressure system to develop. And you see that by 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. you see that the area of snow really does expand throughout the Midwest, and it could be heavy at times. And you see that this eventually around Thursday night, it should reach the Washington D.C. area, and then by 1 a.m. Friday, it should pretty much be right over New York City and Philadelphia, and it should probably end for those areas in New York City and Philadelphia right around between 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. But in Boston, of course, it'll end later, right around 1 p.m. The thing that will definitely limit the snowfall from the Northeast is how fast the slow pressure system is moving, since there's so much instability. The upper level winds associated with the jet stream are very fast, so it's gonna steer the slow pressure fast to the Northeast, which will certainly limit the snowfall for the most part for a lot of the East Coast. Now, here's my official snowfall forecast regarding this major snowstorm. So this is basically just synthesizing the European model and the GFS models data, and the forecast is right around 3 to 5 inches between Boston, extending northward into Maine, Portland, Maine, Connecticut, maybe the eastern portion of Connecticut could get involved, and even Long Island might get involved with around 3 to 5 inches of snow from this. And you see that I'm expecting 3 to 5 inches in Kentucky as well as Tennessee, and then potentially 6 to 12 inches right around West Virginia. But for the most part, for Philadelphia, for New York City, I mistakenly shaded that blue, but New York City, I expect 1 to 3 inches. Washington, D.C., I expect 1 to 3, but you're right there to 3 to 5, so don't be surprised if you receive maybe 3 inches or more. So, yeah, this is going to be a pretty big snowstorm, the first for many of you. So make sure to prepare for this all throughout the Northeast for tomorrow night, because that should be the time when the snowfall will be the heaviest throughout the Northeast. But yeah, guys, I guess that's it for this video. I thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you want to see more weather-related content. Make sure to like if you like this video, and make sure to turn on post notifications if you want to see even more weather-related content. And I hope you guys have a good day.